Martha Montgomery. Here. Stan Matthews.
Here.
Julie Walling.
Here.
Carter Beck.
Here.
Excellent. And welcome Cecilia, Jerry, Elizabeth. Do you want to introduce Althea?
Althea wants to come up. So this is Althea. She's the new assistant director for the White House Public Library, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself and her background.
Excellent.
So, as you heard, my name is Althea Menges. I'm from Knoxville, born and raised. My undergrad degree is in recreational forestry from the University of Tennessee. And I've been working in libraries for about 6 years now. I usually joke, Jared got to hear the joke, and Elizabeth got to hear the joke before, that I love books so much I needed to know them from beginning to end, so trees to book. Do you guys have any questions you want to ask me?
Welcome. We're glad to have you.
I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm very excited.
So you're moved to White House now? You found a place to live?
Yep, so I did find a place
the growing
to live.
city.
Yep, it was a little bit chaotic,
Sure.
but I got it, and I am here and situated and renting a house, and I'm very happy with the house.
Welcome. Welcome.
Is that ALTHEA?
Yes, ALTHEA.
Gotcha.
Hopefully everyone has had a chance to review the minutes that were sent out. Looks like from 3 meetings since we've last met. I'm okay with a motion to approve the minutes from all 3 meetings unless someone has a change that needs to be made. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from these 3 meetings?
I'll motion to approve. Thank you. Second.
Thanks, Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes. Any public comments? All right, so we'll move on to reports, starting with the regional director. Hi, Caitlin.
Hey.
Okay, so Kate and I are probably going to do this a little bit together. This month we're doing time management training. We're actually doing that, had like several different sessions, and Elizabeth has signed up for that, time management, and that's already started. The Southeastern Collaborative Conference, it's a conference for library staff and library directors. It's free, it's virtual, it's going on this week. So we're excited to do that. I did a couple today, so that was a good one. The CLA conference is coming up in the beginning of April. Caitlin and I are both doing presentations. I don't know if usually Elizabeth does a presentation. I couldn't see on the list.
Going?
We're voting on that tonight.
Oh,
you are.
perfect.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully
So,
she can
hopefully
get
she
Hopefully
can
you can get it.
I was going to say, Elizabeth is going, but I didn't see your name, so I thought, let me just tell you. With that, we are having a regional training for catalogers on April 16th. So maybe you will come and join us for that one, maybe. And I want to tell you, so you probably know this, that Joe Baxter, our technical services assistant, is coming down to see you next week. So to work with you on orders and stuff like that. So she's looking forward to it. I've been talking about that for a while, so that's really good. On April 18th, we are having a virtual partnership fair, and that is something that we've been working on for a while. We'll have several organizations that come and present their mission and how they would like to work with libraries. It's going to be, probably we'll have like 11 organizations that will come and join us that day and have like a 15-minute slot to do that. And we already have some confirmed, so Safe at Home will be there, Tennessee Language Center will be there, Veterans Affairs, Kids Central. So that will come out, and we'll send an invitation out for that too, coming up soon. The early math literacy for libraries is on April 24th, and it's at TSLA. We've sent a lot of emails out about that, so you probably already signed up for it. We are having a board chair roundtable next week, and we will talk about recruitment to the board, relationships, how to work with the library director, budget, and when to elect officers and stuff like that. And that is something we do for we do it, we try to do it once a quarter, it's not always the case, but we get the board chairs together and kind of share and discuss issues that they're having and stuff like that. So these are kind of topics that we think are kind of timely right now, just based on what we heard, and also because this is budget time and time to look at recruitment for next year. Big news from the region, Clarksville Montgomery Library is finally breaking ground for their branch in North Clarksville, so that's very exciting. We've been, I guess we've heard about it since 2016, but they worked on that for several years before we got there, so this is a big thing for that board and that library for sure. 471 is due.
Yes, Janet did the right? Okay, I think she's good.
Yeah.
She's got it in.
We're going to be closed on Good Friday, and we're going to be closed parts of April 8th, just because we're having some training down at PSLA. We'll send Elizabeth an email about that, just to remind her. National Library Week is April 7th through the April 13th, and then we have Tech Grant terms ends on April 30th. And I think actually all the board members are going to trust certification.
Oh, yeah.
It's very impressive. Thank you so much. It's like 100%, so that's really
That's a rare feat.
Yeah. I think that's all I have. Do you
Nope.
remember anything else?
You got it. Thank you. Any questions? Did you get my email?
I did, and I was going to tell you that I will send a summary
Okay,
from the
great.
college, because you're not the only one who won't
Yeah,
be able to make
spring
it.
break.
I know.
Oh, bad timing.
Staggered all over Tennessee, I feel like.
Right. We'll move on to the library director report.
Alrighty, so we have the statistical reports first. I have January. Again, I don't normally go over every single number. I do want to look at the yearly material added for 2023. I believe that the last board meeting, Doreen had asked why we had added less from 2022, and I mentioned that sometimes book orders come in at different times, and so it was possible that more would be added in 2024. But I forgot we did a bunch of ebook, and the ebooks aren't physical items, so they just kind of automatically get integrated into Overdrive. So if you want the number of ebooks that we purchased, I can get that. It's not necessarily being added to like our physical collection, so that's why it's not in that number. So that's the real reason we dropped, was because we spent money instead of on physical books on the ebooks instead. So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like that number for going forward, or do you think ebook purchases?
That feels bulky. Does that make sense? I mean, how many ebooks do you feel like you get in a month or a year that are new?
We would probably go by yearly
Yeah.
versus monthly, because there are times we're not buying much throughout the month. It's more so when we have leftover regional money, we'll buy ebooks then. When we have leftover end of the year money, because we didn't have to move book funds to another line if something was over, because that's the line that always gets hit. So that's why the ebooks are kind of towards the end of the year purchases.
I don't think we need to add it to the report. I would be curious to know how many were purchased. Like, did you look at the number? Does that explain the difference?
It helped a
There?
little
Okay.
bit, yes. It did help some.
Okay.
I suppose if we did it as an annual, like there's that 1 month where it's like the cumulative fiscal month, so it's that.
So our,
right?
yes, so June is the end of our fiscal year.
Yeah.
If you wanted to see what total we added then, we could do
I
that.
can see that.
Okay.
June's our first month.
So, do you have a way to see how many people check out ebooks too? Because I see where you've got physical items checked out.
So that's the reads number
Okay.
on the back.
Oh,
of
gotcha,
the
okay.
report. Reads is the number of items that are checked out. Now, the thing with this number, I will say, it's not just our collection. It can also be state items, because the state purchases items to put on reads as well. So that is a mix of them checking out our items and state items.
you talking about what you're sharing with the board when it comes to titles, so that they can see it according to the service agreement? Is that?
We are sharing titles, but again, we haven't really purchased any ebooks since June
Yeah.
of last year.
Okay. That's
And that
You
June
haven't
of last year was probably, it was not required then.
No,
So if you need us to do that as well when we do the ebook purchases, we can do that.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Okay. So if you bought them in a month's time, you would add them to the monthly, the bi-monthly report we're getting already? As a separate line, or would
I
it
could
just
do
be?
it in the same line if you want to, because it is an item that's available. Or I could do it in a separate line if you would prefer to see that figure separated out.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
You indicate on that report what medium, like if it's a magazine or a book, like so it would show on that report ebook next to the title, correct?
It should. I can double check that, but it should.
Are those more expensive than hard because of the license?
It can vary. It can vary.
I wonder.
Because, you know, there's some that are like, ebooks are completely different ball fields. So,
Right.
some ebooks buy for life, some are 26 purchases, you have to buy another one, some are a year purchase, some are
Yeah.
2-year purchase, and I think there might even be some that are 6 months now. So you can purchase them based on what they are offering.
So basically, you're buying like a license to use it.
Right.
So
And then
that's
pick the
why
period
it
of
can
time.
change pricing.
Gotcha.
Sometimes it's cheaper if it's like a 6-month checkout.
Not that much cheaper.
Yeah, and then sometimes
Yeah.
it's way more expensive if you're buying it for 2 years, so it just depends.
Audiobooks are the most expensive. I mean, they can get up to like $80, which is crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but because the physical audiobooks are almost $80.
No kidding, I didn't know that.
No, they're not much cheaper.
No.
Wow.
Do you have a lot of requests for ebooks that we don't have? Like, do people, or guess maybe they just don't ask?
No, we see those requests come through on Read. It's, what is hard and what we, at least I have not seen, Jan and I have looked, it's really kind of hard to see like how many are checking out just our titles. Well, I take that back. We can kind of, like the 26 checkout is really easy to see because it's gonna ding us once we're at that 26 checkout. The ones that are like a yearly one is harder to get in and see that statistics to know how much did it circulate that year or that 2 years to know whether it's worth it. So I still, it's hard for me to, like I said, I can see definitely who's asking for it. It's hard for me to see who's checking it out, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Unless you guys know something I don't.
What we were thinking here. You can't see who checks out an item that has a car refuel.
On Read? I don't know if it tells me
Doesn't
the
get that
actual
granular?
username. I don't know if it tells me the actual user.
But they have to use the library card to check it out. So it should be in there.
I can see it on my end, and I'm wondering if
But is it just showing me it checked out, or is it actually showing me the user's
I can
name?
see names and emails
Okay.
on my login, and I'm wondering if, surely, I'm sure you can too, I would think. At least for the copies y'all buy, I would think you can, but it would take some investigating probably.
We've investigated once before, like I said.
Okay.
It's not, we've talked to Even Overdrive about the statistics because it's not clear. So if you guys have more training,
Well,
I feel like that would be
I
helpful.
think we can probably talk about it, but I think Jessica in Clarksville has had to really work on that too, so we might need to kind of connect you guys. But it seems to be like coming up quite often that the advantage side of it is not so
No,
straightforward.
it's not very user friendly for us to go in and get the data.
Okay.
But can you see, so I guess I shouldn't spend too much time on it, so you can see if somebody's putting hold on something that is not, they're on hold for something but it's a long wait at the state level, so it can come.
I don't know if I'm
Maybe
seeing
not.
that. I can
Yeah, I
see
don't
when they
know.
put in a request.
Okay, just
And they
request.
say, like, when it's the bottom, it says, we don't own this child, we wanna request it, and they can put in the request, and that does
Okay.
come to
Yeah.
us.
But not if you have a patron who's number 50 on hold for a Patterson book or
I
something.
don't know that, if there is a report, I don't know how
You
we
don't
get
know.
to it.
Yeah, I think that's it. We'll see if there's a way to do it, because
Yeah.
that would make sense. But it's not user friendly, I think you're right with that. I've heard that before.
A few other numbers just to look at, test proctoring has been lower because it's just not the right season. People are just starting their semester, so we haven't had as many test proctor requests. But library visits are definitely up, from the previous year. So that, again, shows that we're having more people come in. Now I did want to point out just on the back that we did have to cancel a few programs in January because of snow. So if we're a little lower in January, that's part of the reason why. But still, even with the snow, we had 77 requests through ILO, which is kind of a really high number for us. So, any questions about any numbers I didn't reveal? If not, I'll go on to February. So, if you look at the materials added in February, I did work on getting some orders placed with regional money. So again, that's why it's a pretty higher jump for this February than previous Februarys. Again, it kind of goes in ebbs and flows. I have not worked on any orders here in March. Althea will be once we get her all trained. So probably in April, you'll see another spike in how many items are actually added. Now, one thing I do want to point out down here, so library visits, I have a little asterisk on this number for February is because we get that count from our gate. And I have I have my other report that I'm going to discuss. So we had a water leak in our ceiling, and it broke through the roof and fell on our gates and damaged 2 gates, and so the gates aren't working. So that's why I don't actually have a people count, a full-on number. So that's just a guesstimation of what I think probably came in through February. So, and that's probably going to be that way until we get new gates. So. Any questions?
Of all places for the water.
I know. It could have went anywhere in the ceiling, but right over the gate. Right over the gate. Another thing I really want to point out, so in the 1,000 books programs, you'll see a big drop in the total number of signups from 2023 to 2024. The reason being, one of the things in our OKRs is to try to improve that program, and one of the things we decided to do was to purge people that aged out of the program. It didn't make sense to be including them if they're already in kindergarten, because it was supposed to be 1,000 books before that. So that's why there was the big drop. We purged numbers of people that no longer can even participate in it. So any questions? I like if there's any numbers I want me to go back and look at, we can, but those are just some of the ones I want to highlight. Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
Because I think your Facebook is so active.
I'm going to discuss
really,
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you keep promoting like adult programs, and it looks like you have quite a big number. What is what's the most popular adult program that you do?
Bingo.
Bingo.
That is common.
Hilarious.
Bingo has
When
bingo.
is bingo?
I want to go have bingo.
It's in the middle of the day.
Oh.
It is kind of in the middle of the day.
Tuesday to 10.
I've had a lot of people actually, I knit, and I've had a lot of people ask me, and I keep telling them, I can't teach you, but the library has this
Well,
group.
that's probably the second biggest is knitting club, and because we can only hold 10 people and there's 9 people right now, it is about to cap off. But there are almost 9 people.
But I keep telling people, I was like, this is amazing.
Which is really impressive. Sometimes we don't have that consistency, but I mean, those 9 people are very consistent with the knitting.
That's great.
Yeah.
We went to the Portland Public Library like a couple weeks ago, and it was like 2 o'clock on a Thursday or something. Could not find parking at all. And we got in, we're like, what is going on? She's like, bingo.
So funny.
That's crazy.
So funny.
Nobody invited us.
Are y'all giving away gift cards and stuff?
No, it's much smaller than that.
I
We do it so
know.
often, but like they really
That's so
want the
funny.
random little trinkets. I will
love
say.
I think they play for a candy bar.
Yes,
in
they
Portland.
will. That is
Very
actually our
funny.
most popular
Candy bar.
item is a candy bar to win.
So funny.
How many people usually show up?
Yep.
Like I said, 20, 25.
So
It's
cool.
the biggest one.
I love it. Hilarious.
Elizabeth, with the new coding software that was purchased, have you seen or have you heard any like feedback from some of the teens or tweens that are using that?
Well, the number has been kind of consistent with 3, which we were kind of like thinking it would improve because it has more options for what kind of coding softwares they offered versus the other one. So we're actually still now exploring maybe Code Academy because that subscription is going to end soon. So we're trying to decide, okay, is there a reason we didn't have that huge growth that we were looking for? Some of the tweens that come are I think they are exploring from the others, but then I have a few that are like, no, we only want to use Scratch, which was what we were doing beforehand, and they won't go on to anything else. And so, yeah, like I said, I think the few that are going on are really enjoying it, but it's one of the things, if it is not bringing in more, then is there other softwares out there that might accommodate more? So we are researching that as well. Any other questions? Alright, so we'll just go to my status report. So a couple of places, January, February has been pretty interesting. I attended a Lions Club meeting. What they're working on right now is a GoFundMe page to try to raise some funds to help be able to support eye exams, eyeglasses, and possible surgeries for people that need it in the community. We had our board meeting, executive committee meeting, which we again voted on those minutes tonight, so I won't discuss that too much. Now one of the things we did, and I'm sorry I didn't have a picture of that because like I said, I kind of want you guys to see the pictures of the roof falling in, so that's why that's the focus on the pictures. But we have installed, it's like a video phone is the best way to describe it. So it's for the deaf community. Basically, they come in and they call their bank. As soon as they call on that video phone, an interpreter pops up on the camera. The interpreter will explain to the person at the bank, I'm an interpreter because my client is deaf, so if there's a delay in my voice replying back, it's because I'm signing to them everything you're saying and I'm waiting for them to sign it back and then I tell you what they say. So that's how they can actually call places in town that, you know, when you're deaf you can't hear what they're saying, so they have that person who they can sign to and then they will tell it to the bank teller or whoever they're calling.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Has it been used? Like, do patrons know about it?
We like I said, because it's just kind of been installed.
Yeah.
We just now got some flyers up, and next week we're going to do probably a big promotional. We also are going to see if the city will put it on the digital sign, so the deaf community will know about it. The one family that we do know that comes in often that's deaf, they were very excited to have it. And they have a son that is hearing, and he was very appreciative and said, people don't realize how difficult it is for the deaf community, and we're very appreciative that you put this in here. So.
What prompted that purchase?
Well, it was free.
Okay.
It was free for us. We just had to sign the agreement that basically only the deaf community can use it.
Okay.
It's not like I can use it.
Where'd you get it from? Sorry.
Sorensen?
Okay.
Did they approach you about it?
No, we saw it on the listserv. It came through on the listserv, and I said, okay, what is this? And so we researched it, and we reached out to them and found out it was all free, and yeah, we went forward with it.
That's fantastic.
If you said you had a flyer? Or will?
We are working
Okay,
on.
when you get one, if you will send it to me, my church has a deaf interpreting ministry. I would love to share that. I think that couple you're talking about attends our church, but I would love to share that with the leaders of that ministry.
Okay, perfect.
That'd be great.
I'll make a note to email you. Alright, some of the other things we did in January, February, we conducted interviews and we hired Althea, so super excited about that. I also attended the budget retreat for department heads. So at that one, that's where all the department heads kind of list their projects. Now, I know we've already voted on our budget for the library board, and all of our projects are going to be under that $25,000 mark. So I won't actually have to present to the BMA on it. We just had a meeting with Jerry about it, so all that should be going through fine. I also have a monthly one-on-one staff meeting. Another thing I did was I did attend a leadership and customer service training. which I will provide, more details of that at the executive committee meeting, and so you'll see those in the minutes, on what all was in that, because, like I said, I'll provide more of a report to them. I did performance reviews. I also attended the 2 BMA meetings on fine free, and Carter also attended that, so thank you for doing that. So in case you guys didn't hear, I think I sent out an email, but we did get approved to go fine free. So that will start officially March 18th. TLC is actually tonight waiving all the old fees, and then Monday is when we will put all the settings correctly so that things don't get charge fines. But then once they are overdue, the card is just blocked, and they can't be unblocked till they return that item.
It was really exciting to see the stuff on social media about that. I think the city reposted it as well. A big accomplishment for sure. Have you had any feedback from patrons?
I think some of them were shocked. Like, there was one individual who said, but there's always been library fees. Like, he was shocked. He was like, even when I was a kid, that's what the librarians were like, if you don't bring this back, there's going to be a fee. And he was just like, I can't believe you did this. So it was interesting. And then we had like one lady who, like I said, because not everything was waived yet, so up until that time when TLC, because again we had to do all that on the backside, we were just overriding if they had fines. And then one lady like, can I pay this? I'm like, no, you can't.
Not take your money.
So we probably will. I know a lot of libraries have a donation jar if they want to donate to like the Friends, because they do support us instead of having to pay a late fee. So we might make sure they have that option.
Is there any data that you're going to be watching as with this change? Because I know we talked about, will we have more items just never returned? Like, what are you watching
Well, I
closely?
think we will see some of that here. Like, is there going to be a drop in circulation?
Yeah.
Because people are taking them longer. We'll see that. Because I mean, right now we do track the items checked out each month. So that will be interesting to see. Does that drop? Does that increase?
Yeah.
I also have on here, the number of card holders. Is that going to drop? I mean, it shouldn't drop, but is that going to significantly increase? So a lot of the data that you look at when you go find free is already stuff I do collect. So some of those things we'll definitely be looking at.
Yeah.
Okay, the marketing committee met. There's also a regional training on strategic planning that I attended as well. I might mention that what I learned at that was the executive committee, since the executive committee does the strategic long-range planning. I met with Jerry for all the non-CIP discussions, and all those are going through. Okay, I will say we are probably going to actually, Jerry said to go ahead and do this, we're going to go ahead and do another like CIP project in just like an HVAC, just to make sure if the HVACs are getting older that we need to do something this year, that it's budgeted. So that is maybe one of the things that we are adding in that we didn't discuss at our board meeting.
So I have a question while we're talking about that. The security gate, those are pretty expensive. So
yeah, I have a whole section about that.
Okay. We'll get there.
Insurance is going to help. We did an insurance claim.
Good.
But I have a whole printout actually on that too. So, and then as part of my goals this year is to do more meetings and networking, and so I did meet with Michelle Jokes Brown, and we went rock climbing and stuff. So after a long discussion, and that was actually pretty funny because you're spotting each other, and I climbed to the top, and then I kind of let go, and she didn't let me go, or let me come down, so she kind of left me hanging up there. And I was like, okay, Michelle, I don't think I would be team building with you ever again. She left me hanging. But on her defense, she just didn't know how to let me down. And then like some of the library activities. Let me go back up. And then I met with 2 mentors, and then I have been looking at some possible training opportunities because I have to do 4 specific ones this year. So I'll talk to the executive committee about some of those training opportunities that I'm looking at. We did close early because of snow. We had actually 2 pipe leaks, believe it or not. One in the mechanical room, one in the ceiling. And what's interesting is they're pinprick leaks. They're not like a huge burst. And we were having a hard time figuring out what was causing it. and they're leaking around the solder. It's like it will just break down on the solder, cause a little pinprick. And so we don't even really notice it until after it's been going for a long time, and then it causes the damage. We at first were wondering if maybe there was too many chemicals in our water. So we had the wastewater department test it, and they're like, no, that is all fine, your water is testing perfectly. So we're, I think the maintenance man is gonna be looking at whether we have too much electrical current running through the thing. So maybe that's what's breaking down the solder. So we're still trying to figure out what's causing it so it doesn't keep happening again, but for now, all the leaks that we know of are fixed. So the security gates, like I said, they did, I should have put this probably right afterwards. If you go over a few pages, I have a quote from TechLogic. So yes, those gates are not cheap, and actually on the quote from TechLogic, there's two sides, front and back. The side that's more expensive, the $12,350, that would be to replace just 2 gates, because right now it's just 2 that aren't working, with the exact gates that we have, which are older gates, they're 9 years old, so that is that cost. The other side, which is cheaper, is to replace all 3 gates with newer gates. The newer gates are cheaper because they're easier to get parts. The older gates, they can't find the parts, and that's why it's more expensive. So insurance is going to pay majority of that. All I have to pay is the $2,500 deductible. So basically, I'm going to pay TechLogic $2,500. The insurance will pay TechLogic the difference, and then they will schedule getting the gate installed. And I do have enough in my budget to cover that $2,500 right now, unless there's more plumbing issues, because that is going to come out of my 200 line, or 200 and 260 line, which is my repair and maintenance and facilities, because that's kind of what caused the issue. So any questions about how the gates are being resolved?
Is there a timeline for how long it'll take to install them?
I got an email today from TechLogic, and they have set me up with a project manager who is going to work on getting me timelines. They don't know the exact timeline yet. I don't know if it will depend on how quickly the insurance mails the check. So that might be something that can delay it. So she just said she's gone ahead and set me up with a project manager, and she will be in touch with me about timelines and things like that.
Any other damage from that leak? Ceiling tiles are pretty easy
Yeah,
to
ceiling tiles are
replace.
pretty quick and are pretty easy to fix. The mechanical room that had the break, we did manage it. Luckily, the mechanical room has a drain in it, so we were kind of able to just push most of the water in that drain and wipe it off the walls. The main thing was it was trying to mildew a little bit on the walls. We cleaned it with kind of the Clorox that has the bleach in it, and they haven't come back, so it was just mainly a clean up in that room.
Did we do that, or did we have somebody come in?
Ed said that he could clean it off if he did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
We also have an office signing, and then of course the Larry illness emergency. So he is doing better. This week he ate. Let's see. Monday did he eat worms and crickets Monday? What yeah. I know. He's been up and down still. He wouldn't eat. And so then I decided, well then I'm not going to give you even any supplements on Tuesday. And so then I think he finally, because he's hungry, because when he's not eating, we normally give him the liquid diet. But I was like, well maybe he's not eating because we're feeding him so much liquid diets. And I know Althea did help with the liquid diet. So we then, I decided, nope, I'm not giving any liquid diet or any food either. So then Wednesday he ate crickets, and then today he ate worms, excuse me. He just not one cricket. And I can't figure out why he won't eat any crickets, but he ate 2 worms Wednesday and 3 worms today. So he is finally getting back on hard food, but he won't eat the crickets.
Larry is eating some.
I don't know how much is normal for, I don't know if that's good, if that's like a teenager's appetite, or.
What was wrong with him? Did you figure it out?
they think he ate a bad cricket or worm and got a parasite,
Ah.
and that was what caused his intestines to prolapse. It
Ah.
came outside of him, and it was very bloody and gross, and yes.
Traumatic for everyone,
It was,
I bet.
yeah, so,
Things they don't teach you in graduate school.
No, no. And luckily,
Take care of
Emmy, who used to be on the board, I'm still in contact with her, and I knew her friend was a vet, and I said, can you please text the vet and even tell me what this is, because I didn't even know what was coming out of him. And so she texts her friend, and her friend's like, oh, that's his intestine. You need to keep those moist, because if they dry up, he's not gonna make it. Try to get it, like, put, like jelly, petroleum jelly around it to try to get it to go back in. Luckily it did, because I thought we were gonna lose him. She goes, there's no emergency vet on the weekends, because this was a Saturday. She goes, there's no emergency vet that can treat that type of problem right now. They go, the most, if you take him to emergency vet, they could do is euthanize him. So if it doesn't go back in, you're basically, here's where you take him to put him down, is what she told me. So, luckily, they went back in, and they kind of stayed in Sunday, and then, like I said, we took them to the vet Monday, and they kept them for, like, most of all Tuesday, and, yeah.
That's horrific.
It was, and I can show you pictures if you really want to see. Julie's like, yeah.
I know, it's a nurse, I totally know. Sometimes, for future reference, sometimes we put sugar around it too, and somehow that makes it shrink up and back in.
Wow.
So.
Okay. So yeah, I
Who
should have
thought of that?
Right?
Would that work
Did
with
they
I
always-
don't know about I'm
Did they
never
always
gonna live
use
there.
a parasite?
Yeah. So for humans it works, and I feel like a lot of stuff is the
He
same.
finally gave him a poop sample, and she did see, I think, just a very basic one, because there are a lot, and that's what she had given me a parasite treatment when he prolapsed. So she thinks, because I Googled it too, and she said it's very common for them to prolapse when they have a parasite. So that's probably what, again, caused it. So she said that the parasite treatment she was giving me was treating the parasite he had, because there is a wide variety, like you said. And so when he did finally poop, she was able to check and say, yes, we have the right one, because if it wasn't the right one, she had other ones she could have given us.
Poor Larry.
You raising enough money to take care of that bill yet?
Yes, we did. We raised more than enough to take care of the vet bill.
You fundraised for Larry?
We did a GoFundMe,
That's
the friends
great.
did, because technically the friends own Larry, they paid for him.
Ah.
And so I was, texting them constantly, like, okay, like, how much are we spending, because if he has to go in for surgery, and he has to be euthanized, like, what are we doing here? So they were just like, well, just find out what the cost is and let us know, we'll decide, so. Because he is 5 and he's turning 6 this year, and they only live between 6 and 8, so he has had a long life. But they also did blood work, because that's kind of how we helped to identify what was wrong with him, and his white blood cell count was really high, so they knew he was fighting an infection. But they said, like, his blood work, other than the white blood cell count, was amazing. He had the right amount of calcium, vitamins, so we're doing everything else right. It was just, he probably ate something that was bad.
A cricket. Can you
Yeah.
say hello, cricket?
I know, and I'm like, does he know it was a cricket that made him sick? And that's why he's like, I don't want these anymore. He's like, I don't want these.
I don't blame him.
He has
Survival
trauma
instinct.
from it.
Crunchy. And they're smelly.
The worms can be smelly too, though.
I know. I have.
Can I just say really quick, Stokes Brown in Springfield, they have a red-hooded tortoise as a pet that someone just gave them. And they had to go to a store called Aquatic Critters to learn more
The
about
coolest store.
Dewey, their pet turtle. And they found out they had to start feeding him frozen mice. So that's fun for them. Yeah, I know. That's terrible. So
Yeah, my sister who
all
works
kinds of
there,
different animals.
my sister who works
Oh,
there,
right, yeah.
she's like, it's amazing how much he loves them.
Yeah.
So I think I'd rather feed worms than mice. Good
Yeah.
job with that.
And I am very appreciative about Leah, I will say, because she's already helped me. She is very, not happy, but she's still on antibiotics for another week and a half. So we have to give him a shot of antibiotics, and so like she has to help hold me, and so I can hold the arm and I can stick him and give him a shot. And
What an exciting first week. I know. I'm glad he's taking a turn for the better.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes, there's, yeah, right, there's no.
So that's all my monthly report. I did have updates, and so as I think all of you know, that we do have an intern working, she's doing it through part of her college. She has to do like a practicum internship for her semester, and so she's working on the homeschool program. So she did a Survey Monkey poll that we have, well, I think I should be able to pull up on your screen. I still have it up. Okay, so we had almost 200 people take this poll. We asked, what time would work best for them. Monday was the top day, but we actually, because they were very close and because of how many programs we already have on Monday, we're actually going to go with the Wednesday day in the afternoon because we don't have anything right now that day in the afternoon, and it's easier to set up for us.
This is for homeschooling?
Yes.
Okay.
How often they wanted to meet. They did want to meet once a week, but since this is kind of a pilot program and we want to get it started, we're going to go with the bi-monthly, and again, it wasn't too far behind, just to get started, and then if it ends up growing, we can always add 2 more in pretty easily. What activities are they most interested in? She lists a lot, and of course science projects were just through the roof. That one was a clear winner. Arts and crafts were kind of the next highest thing on there. So she's probably going to do a bit of a mix of those things. And Althea will probably help also with this once the intern's done so it can continue. She has done a lot of STEM programs at her library, so she can handle kind of taking over those science projects for us.
So, what is the age range?
We're about to do that. Last one. What grade is your homeschooler in?
I just read the paper.
So there wasn't really a huge clear age that was just jumped out of there. So what we actually, and another thing I had her do, I said, I want you to go research all the libraries in the area that have a homeschool group. So Stokes Brown has one, Millersville has one, Hendersonville has one, Westmoreland has one. What she found was that they all normally stop at 2nd or 3rd grade. They don't go past that. None of them offer anything for older homeschoolers. And it's clear that we do have kids in the older homeschool range. So what we're going to do is one of our bi-monthly is going to be for ages pre-K to 2nd. And then the next monthly meeting will be for ages 3rd through 6th. So all age groups will be hit.
Well, Elizabeth, on this is showing that the majority of the participants skipped that question. So.
Yes. So we did have a slight issue. So what happened was they couldn't when the poll was first made, when she first made the poll, they couldn't select multiple age options. She only set it to be a 1 only, and parents have more than 1 kid. So when I went in and edited it, it actually deleted all that had put in beforehand. So I know we had a smaller pool from there because it actually deleted the few people that had done it beforehand. And they can't really go in and do it again because they already answered the top question. So I know we did probably lose, and it could have been some that were higher than others, but I still think this arrangement is not bad because it really lets us hit all age groups.
Yeah, I noticed that gardening's pretty high on their list.
High.
So is that something that you might do you were talking about doing a public garden with the
FFA?
So that maybe the homeschoolers can help with that too?
Yeah, I think we could definitely talk with the FFA. I don't think, I'm pretty sure she said they do have to do so much teaching as well. So I think even the high schoolers might be willing to teach the homeschoolers what they know about gardening. So I think she would probably be all over that partnership. I just haven't reached out to her yet since we're just now kind of collecting data and figuring out which direction we want to go. So any questions, updates, other comments?
I think it's great to see how many people completed the survey. That, for us, that feels like a very high number.
And that was like, I think a week.
Wow. That's really, I think it's going to be a very popular program.
How did you promote it? Did you?
Mainly through social media. We did have paper options in the building, but we did not get a single paper form submitted. They were all, but again, we shared it to, there's a White House homeschooler on Facebook. our White House, our HIP White House, our, Facebook page, our website, our newsletter. We sent it out there as well, so we sent it out to pretty much every avenue we could.
It's good that it's short. I think people are more likely to fill it out.
Agreed.
I mean, those were the main questions we did answer.
Yeah.
So,
So when will the homeschool program start?
April,
Excellent.
so it will be the 2nd and 4th April of the month on the Wednesdays from 1:30 to 2:30.
Okay.
The next thing we had to do was the image evaluation. So I didn't have, make copies of all the image evaluation forms. If you actually want to see those, I can bring those to you. Again, most of them are just the yes, no. What I did was take any comments that were left on the forms and I kind of put them here because I feel like that kind of gives us more information than just the yes, no answer does. So again, we have really a lot of positive feedback as far as what the look was like, how everything was organized, how the stats looked. People loved the juvenile seating. Probably the few things that were a little negative, but you'll see them as you keep reading through, not maybe a lot of signs. So that was maybe one note. I also believe there was one noted on that there needed to be more trash cans. Something that was noted. We don't have a genealogy room, and it's not that they were saying we needed one. I think they were just noting that the form asked, is there one, and they're like, not that I saw. So, I made anything that was a comment like that, I added in there. Again, some more directional signs maybe was one of the few comments that could be definitely a change. Now the displays are the displays filled with books, so it's not all just some. It's so interesting because you don't know when they're completing the image evaluation. And so I really think that was probably somebody that was when we're in between switching them out because most of the time they are full. And then like I said, some of these were just general comments. They weren't with any of these specific questions that were asked. But so like I said, it was interesting that some said we needed more directional signs, and then some said directional signs are appropriate and they don't add clutter. So it was kind of, you got a little bit of both. Some people thought it was fine as is. Staff was very friendly. There's a few comments about the smoking receptacles and what is legally required, and I don't know if I do know whether or not we have to have a smoking receptacle or not. Jerry might have to answer that one.
No.
Okay, so there you go. So
It's interesting that came up more than one time.
well, it's on the form.
Okay.
Are there smoking receptacles? So.
I think the trash thing is interesting. There's no eating in the library. So
I don't.
is it the craft room?
I know, that was the thing. I was gonna look again and see if I could find where that comment was at. Was it maybe saying in the foyer? Was it saying in this area? So I can try to pinpoint where they thought there needs to be more trash cans. There's actually 2 in each bathroom. So, cause those tend to get the most trash from the handouts. So I'll have to look and see if I can figure that one out. Then a few things about power washing above the windows, which actually that is going to be on my CIP project long range plan to get the whole building power washed. Also there were some comments about possibly touching up some paint, which again is on my CIP longer range to do a whole repaint the entire building. The windows though, we can have volunteers clean the windows, which that's just, sometimes they do periodically when we have the volunteers that have to do court order service hours. They don't get the pleasant job, so as soon as we get enough permission, they'll probably be cleaning the windows. And vacuuming the foyer. So like I said, depending on when they come in, we do have a cleaning service that comes in and does a big major cleaning, and then we do spot checking, so it's just hard to, and plus now it's not as bad, but when the fall it was really bad with all the leaves coming in the hallway. And then we had are the restrooms ADA compliant, and I believe the and what they meant by that was the door to open the restrooms, and I believe they are because the architect tried to make the entire building ADA compliant, but I can check with codes just to make sure we are in compliance with that.
So one of the things that's on here is a donor wall, which I've never thought of that
No.
being a missing thing.
We don't really have a donor wall because we sold the bricks. So our donors are all outside on the bricks.
Okay.
Somewhere around markers in the building.
Well, that's true. There's a few up above when we sold, the naming rights to specific areas. So like the study rooms, the children's room. So all those, there is a plaque for people that bought that, but there's not, cause some places will do a donor wall for anybody that donated over maybe $100 or whatever. We just said, if you didn't buy one of the big areas, the bricks is what we did. Any questions about that? That kind of checks off what we had to do for the state standards for every 3 years. Good here.
So was there anything significant that jumped out at you like, oh?
Maybe the trash cans, and then like I said, I'll look at the directional signs again, but I will say, so one thing we're doing, we have done, and again, if you guys think we need more directional signs on top of this, I did have Tiffany make a map of the facility, and as soon as they get a library card, there are copies of these sitting there to grab the map to see where things are located in the building. So if I still need directional signs, I can add them, but we kind of thought this might be a good way to let people know where things are.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Just thinking about the trash cans, do you get a lot of pushback about not having food and drink in the library because the cafe is so close?
We let them have food and drink in the foyer.
Okay, when you come in.
Yes, the foyer kind of in between the cafe and the
Right.
library. So I mean, there's a little bit of pushback, that's because we say, well, like when they're in the study rooms, we'll just take a break, go out in the foyer or the cafe and do your drink and your food, and then you come back in. I think that's a good enough compromise that they're kind of willing. It's not a hard pushback, let's put it that way, because of that compromise. Okay, so OKR reviews. These were basically I took our long-range plans, our goals, objectives, and I just kind of added more measurable results. I kind of just want to go over the ones that we've actually made some progress on because, again, this is a longer-range plan, so it's not like we're going to have results on everything just yet because we work at them a little at a time. So with the 1,000 book participation that we're trying to increase, we did go ahead and purge those that were aged out of the system to make sure we have clear numbers for starting. More ways to interact with the teen and tweens because we're trying to have an active tab, and that here. So we did change the tab meeting times. We now added 2 meeting times, so if they can't make it to one, they can make it to the other. Another thing that Audrey is doing are these little cards. So the cards have the meeting dates on them, and if they come and get the card punched, kind of like how, you know, when you go to a coffee shop, get them punched so many times and you can get a prize. Or I think she might do like a get to come to like the big pizza party at the end or whatnot. So we are doing different things like that to try to get more teams to come to the tab meetings. So that's why I put the 25% there because we're working on that. We do have one that is very active. We're trying to get the 3 more so that way we can have the 4 by the June 2024. So we're trying to do that. If you jump down to objective 1.2, we are close to having the adult education kits put out. We have everything purchased. We're working on cataloging, and hopefully by our next meeting we'll have all those out. Same with the museum passes. Abby and I were working on getting those purchased. We had everything ready for the kits themselves except for the passes, so we did purchase quite a few this week. So that's why I said we're about 80% done on those 2 items. And you jump down to the key result for 3.1B. That's the add the video for the deaf community, which we did and we discussed quite a bit. And then 1.3C key result. We are right now, again, we're trying to get a study room reservation software, but what we have done in the meantime is we added where they can do an email request for a study room reservation, and that's on our website. If you jump down to 2.1A key results, I have moved furniture around to accommodate that deaf resource I did. The thing is with that, so what's interesting, so if you do come in and stop and see it, so, you know, they have to have space to sign. and that video, camera has a very wide angle. And so what the furniture setup that we had originally, they could see almost everybody else in the back room. So it wasn't a private call because it was just too out in the open. So I had to move furniture around to kind of get it in a back corner where it was more private for them to be able to do that call. So that is 100% completed. We also got the new office furniture for the position. So if you guys come in, that was kind of one of our CFP projects too. We do have those office furnitures in, so it looks really, really good. And then if you jump down to 2.2A and I don't know why I said A for all of those, so excuse me on that one. The Facebook and social media, so I do have that pulled up. And like Cecilia said, it has just jumped through the roof. Like we had originally said and set it kind of low, let's try to increase followers by 5%, let's try to increase likes and engagement by 10%, and we actually really surpassed that. So if you look at engagement on Facebook, we have 28.7 thousand, so up 189% from where we were. Instagram, we're up 16.3%, so I'm not entirely sure why it's so much harder to hit Instagram, but I guess it is. Facebook visits, we're up 28.7%, so again, past that 10%. Instagram, we're at 7.1 visits. And followers, we have increased by 373% as far as followers on Facebook. Instagram, 11.4%.
Increased from when? Like
this is looking at December 15th, if you see down there.
Okay.
So yes, because that's kind of around
3 months.
That is 3 months. That is
okay.
looking at. Because I do have it set to look at the last 90 days. So it's pretty much, so it's a little bit before when we first were originally going to say, okay, January, February, March is when we were going to try to make our target months for these increase, but we kind of have exceeded that already. So.
What are you doing?
So I hired this wonderful person called Tiffany, because she doesn't have a marketing background, but she owned her own business. So she knows lots of marketing tips, and basically one of the things she said was, well, we need to do things that are like stories or not program posts. So what she did was every month was a different employee highlight.
That's cute.
And so I was the first one. I wonder if I can go in and find those posts.
I enjoyed those.
Yeah, have you enjoyed?
There is a way where you can actually see what are the top posts.
There is, and I'm trying to find that because where was that again? We had looked at that actually.
Actually, could, on the left, yeah, could you go down content? There we go.
And then I think is there a way to filter? I know Tiffany and I had looked at this one before. What post had? Yeah, what post had the most?
Can you
Maybe click the column where it says date.
just sort the reach maybe? And then
Yeah.
You want me to do that?
I think
Yeah,
it'll let
click
you
that.
sort by those if you click the.
Yeah, so this is gonna sort it. Oh, Janet got
There you
So
go.
yeah, Janet had
Yeah.
those reaches
Oh, well
first
deserved.
with 18 comments, but there was one. Where is it? Where it's like the views maybe? There was
It's probably going to be in your reach.
Click the arrows on the reach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a second to come up.
4.6.
Never interrupt bench. They're great.
How far back is this though? Because there was one, I don't know if this is going back far enough. Actually, hold on one second. Maybe I can log in. We'll see. Sometimes I can't get in.
Was that increased followers on social media? Was that for the year?
have to ask Janet for the password from down there, and that's really at 8 o'clock, so she's left. But I was asking Tiffany to keep track of her posts, because her posts are non-program posts. Her posts are the, funny little videos of the pictures of staff. She posted one of us, because we had a book club member that had cancer, and we bought shirts supporting her, so she posted a video or a picture of us with that. I said, I wonder why I can't go back further, because one of our posts had 10,000. Yeah, it had 10,000 reaches. I don't know why I can't seem to go back to.
Oh, yeah, try that. Did you look? Yeah. Now click the reach again.
I'll have to see if she still has it saved. Cause like I said, I knew after a while it kind of filters out, so, actually, let me go back, cause I don't know if it was December, maybe that one. There it is, 9.4
Oh, look at you.
thousand. It was a picture of me with Henry.
Look at Larry.
But it was a little description about me and things I like to do, and then we did a poll. So we've been doing polls of like at the end of the month to wrap up each employee spotlight. So the poll for me was, what Disney princess am I? And I thought the top two should just be either Tangled, because I do have a picture of Larry on top of my head, and Rapunzel always has her little chameleon on top of her head. But then again, my middle name is Belle, and I became a librarian, so I kind of got a hard choice there between the two. So.
What were the poll results?
Oh, can I find those? That is a good question.
You don't have to find
I know, I will have to look for that.
But,
It was very close, I will say. It was almost like 50-50 for each.
and
so.
that post, yours, was the first employee spotlight
It
that
was.
was done.
It was.
I think that's a great idea.
Are you gonna do one for Althea?
She is next. She is April.
Yay.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the top 9.4 thousand.
Yeah.
She'll send it to all her friends in Knoxville. She'll send it
The social media is really great. I think what my wife and I use both Facebook and Instagram to be able to see, okay, what programs are going on, but it was also a pleasant surprise to see, like, okay, like meet some of the staff.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoyed reading those. So I guess for some positive feedback, like it's nice because I'll see like knitting club. This I'll send that to my wife, and so it's fun.
Yeah, that's great.
It's also good, I mean, I think the temptation is just to like spam people with everything you're doing all the time.
It is.
And
I
that can
think
kinda.
it has been a good fit to have Tiffany in here to say, okay, I know you want to let people know about your program,
Right.
but you need to do some other things, do some
Personal
stories,
stuff.
exactly.
Right.
And she does those for Larry's page too. This is just the library's page, so there's, if you follow Larry's page, there's what books he's reading. He's hidden bookmarks around the facility, and if you find them, you get a sticker of Larry. So there's lots of
I love it.
So yeah, that's going well with the OKRs. Also, if you jump down to the 3.1A, purchase the garden beds, because again, that's one of the things we're doing with the FFA. Those are purchased. I let her know they're purchased, so she's going to be contacting me for the next step of getting soil and seed. On the back side, a little bit, like I said, some smaller things, but then the big ones that we already talked about was the homeschool survey. So that was a big one that's 100% completed. So any questions about that? So I didn't go through all of them, just kind of the ones that have had some good chunks done on them. And we already talked about the gate update, so I think we'll just go into the budget. So again, the budget's looking good. I know we had mentioned the salary survey and, which the HR director has met with all the staff, all the employees, I think, for the city, at least all of them in my department, if they're getting a raise and what percent they're getting. We can cover all the small raises that were needed for, this budget year. Thanks, partly because of being short-staffed and assistant director for 3 months is what kind of has covered that. So we don't actually have to make up anything for the salary survey. And then because the insurance company is gonna pay TechLogic and all I have to pay is that $2,500 for the gate, which will come out of the 260 line. If you look at that, I still have 6,000 in there. So unless like a ton of pipes keep breaking, I should be okay. So, I think the biggest thing we had talked about was whether or not we could use some of that leftover capital project money. At the 900 line, we still have about 10,000 left over. So I will probably ask her if we can go ahead and maybe purchase some chairs this budget year, so that way we're not spending as much. That way if we end up having more overage next year, we'll be covered since we spent some this year. Any questions?
What was the average increase that you had to do because of the salary survey? Do you know that?
The report's not fully out yet, so we're still waiting for Evergreen to give us their final
Okay.
report.
Elizabeth, as we start to go like through the fiscal year, is there a way that we can preemptively like resolder some of those connections of the pipes where they might look like they might be weak point?
And Ed had talked about having a plumber come out to do just a check of all the pipes and to check if any of them just needed that as a preemptive, like you said, just to prevent anything from happening down the road. I don't know why, maybe he was still waiting to see what people thought was the reason as to why it was breaking down before he did that. So I'll have to check with him again whether he recommends that we still move forward with, like you said, having somebody come and inspect the pipes. Because we talked about both. We're like, we feel like the pipe should be inspected so no further leaks if something of damage happens. We also wanted to figure out what was causing the leaks as well. So we kind of have both going on at the same time. So I will ask him if he thinks maybe, like you said, even though he was really focused on what was causing it, if we should just look at having the pipe inspected in general.
Okay. If not, there are like some like water detection sensors that set off like a little alarm. Maybe over like areas where there's computers, if that might be worthwhile putting one in the ceiling tile above those. So that way instead of it waiting, because like you said, we don't know if it's just a pin leak until the ceiling tile actually breaks.
Exactly.
That would be cheap, but it wouldn't fix the problem.
No.
It would just let us know.
I'm assuming, can you order those on Amazon or there's somewhere?
Yes, yeah, Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's. Yeah.
Good idea. Any other questions about the budget? If not, that wraps up the director report. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
The executive committee did meet and those minutes we approved. We reviewed Elizabeth's evaluation with her and Jerry was there for that as well. That was our first time doing her evaluation like that and I think it was productive and excited about the transparency and the back and forth that we had in setting Elizabeth's goals for the year. So, the Finance and Budget Committee did not meet. Marketing and Public Relations.
Let's see, Cherry, Julie, Elizabeth, and myself, we all met on February 20th, and we went over 3 main topics for the Marketing Committee. First is going to be Fandom Fair, because that's coming up quickly. The second is going to be a patron survey, and last is a marketing plan. So updates on Fandom Fair, as Elizabeth laid out in the minutes, she's starting to go through that process of seeing, okay, who's going to be there, who's not going to be there. But what we're doing is we're dividing and conquering some of the goals. And so we're going to be reaching out to some food trucks. Speaking on that, did you receive the registration for Mossy or Be Kind?
I have not checked. I will
Okay.
double check.
No problem. And if you haven't yet, that just means like I can go and support their small business and ask them.
Yeah.
Take one for
And then, exactly. And then Julie's going to be reaching out to Heritage to see if they would be willing to also like sell some like snacks and food. On top of that, we decided to not do panels again this year. And then for the costume contest, we're going to do first and second place. And then if we have enough volunteers, we're going to do the Lego building. But we're really not going to know that until we get closer. And so with that, when do you think we would know if we're going to have enough volunteers?
Julie, were you also able to check with some of the, because I think that was something else we had talked
I
about.
was gonna reach out to Dr. Hoff and ask about volunteers that need summer hours.
Yeah. So that's kind of the issue we run into. Some clubs will let them do their service hours only during the school year, and Fan and Fair takes place in the summer. So we have to find the club that will let them do it in the summertime. So that was the big kind of issue. And so we do try to reach out probably the end of April, so it's not like a huge time span. So like all of May, we're pushing the schools to see if we can find volunteers. But like I said, so anyone that has the contacts for clubs that will let them do it in the summer, those are the people I try to target the most and say, hey, your kid needs hours, here's a great way for them to get hours.
I believe the scouting programs also require some volunteer time.
So Boy Scout.
Okay,
And we
so
talked about like the Tennessee Promise, that's not necessarily tied to the school, but they have to have so many hours.
I think it's a monster.
So,
that was a lot of what we discussed. In addition to the family fair, we also discussed a patron survey. So similar to the homeschooling survey, what we want to do is every couple of years is talk to the patrons, see what are they interested in, what do they want to see from the library, and what do they like, what do they want changed. So as part of that, we're going to be brainstorming some ideas, and we're going to be presenting a draft at the next marketing committee meeting in April. We're going to look at some other, let's see. Oh, but also we thought of, it might be important if we're asking people their opinion and they're submitting a survey online, it might be important to also put in a survey disclaimer, whereby you put in this information is going to remain anonymous, it's going to be kept on this particular software, your information will not be dispersed. And it's just something that I think is a best practice when you're utilizing online surveys. It gives people peace of mind, and that knowing that their opinion, their name, their email is not going to be exposed. So if it's not going to be really expensive, maybe having the city attorney to look at that disclaimer, making sure that we checkmarked everything that was appropriate, but also we can use some templates as well. And then possibly at Fandom Fair, if we're able to have this in time, to be able to utilize Fandom Fair, the people that are going to be there, to also take that survey, because that's going to be a great time that we're going to have a lot of people, and that'll be able to provide a very accurate response from a large survey population. Let's see here. And then also the marketing plan. The committee discussed their task of creating a marketing plan. That's part of the long-range plan, and the hope is to have that 1 year from our next marketing committee meeting. And to do that, we're going to be looking at some other plans that other libraries have utilized. And so we're going to be presenting that at the next meeting, and we're going to be shooting to have that done April 25. So it's a very productive meeting.
And then policy, did you all meet or email about them?
They just replied back to me that they were okay with the changes. So basically, since we are going fine-free, we need to update our policy to match that. So like on the first page under circulation, we need to change it that they cannot have any fees. Their account balance fees have to be 0. So basically, if they have a fee for a book or a fee for a hotspot, they can't keep checking out. So even if it's a low-cost book that's only $5, sorry, you have to return that book before you can check out. So that's why the fee has to be $0 in order to check out. On the back side, I did remove that technology of devices from there because I don't have a problem, I think we were just gonna make it consistent that everything can renew twice, even technology devices. And then on the other side, we were removing, the fines for everything. Now, I did change it originally to say 21 for the max fee for the hotspots because we were gonna start charging everything once it was 7 days late, and that would have been the cost for 7 days. But, I was kind of thinking about that afterwards, but if we're going to waive the cost of the hotspot, I actually think $21 is too low. And so if you guys are okay with it, I think we should probably keep it at what it was originally, which was the max fee of $30. And then on the back side, again, I was just removing the fees for the other items, so.
I feel confused about the hotspot, so just to go a little slower with that. So the maximum fine for the late fee for a hotspot is $30.
Correct.
So how many days are we talking here? Is this 2 weeks or is this a month by now?
No, it's $3 a day.
$3 a day, so it's just 10 days.
That's 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah, so we can adjust it so that, I'm pretty sure, we were talking with TLC today and multiple times throughout this process going forward. And so I'm pretty sure we can adjust the hotspot, so it's not gonna be like, cause at first I thought everything or nothing. If it, once it's 7 days, it gets charged the account, but we can set the hotspot to keep going to that 10 days before they then get charged the additional cost of the item, and then, once they bring that back, the item gets waived, but they still have to pay that $30 fee. So that's why originally I had changed it to 21, because I thought we were gonna have to keep everything consistent, but that will work in our system. That we can keep it $30 fee. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question, Doreen?
I am not following what you're saying, but I could be alone in that.
No, okay, so I think this is where I'm confused.
Okay.
And maybe you are too,
Okay.
Kate. So we're fine-free except for technology and things like that.
Right.
Got that.
That's what I was wondering.
Okay, but if we're waiving the first 7 days,
We can,
didn't you just say that? Did I hear that?
we can change it so that the hotspots start getting accrued the late fees as soon as they're late. The books and everything, they don't get blocked until 7 days past 30 days. Does that make sense? We can
So
set,
a book has to be late a whole week before you charge for the amount of the book.
correct.
Okay.
But you're saying charge as soon as it's overdue for the hotspot.
$3 a day. So then if they're only 2 days late, they don't have to pay that $30 fee, they would pay $6. Katie still looks confused.
Just past my bedtime.
Okay.
So how did I think why is the 10-day?
Do you wanna keep it then to 7 days and it goes down to $21 fee? I think originally, right now, currently, it's set to $30. That's the max.
It's in the system already set at
Yeah.
$30.
It is.
Okay.
We can go up on that, or we can drop it.
I don't
I
think
think the reason we didn't is because we were like, more than likely, if it's over $30, they're not gonna pay the fee, and we would
No.
never see them again.
So how much does the hotspot itself cost to begin with? They're not that expensive.
No, they're not.
I mean, I don't even
Most
think
of them
they
were,
cost
most of them were,
$9.75.
yeah, most of them were given to us for free. Sometimes they will charge between $30 or $60 for them if they break or something like that, but.
You're paying for the service though, not really the.
There was once or twice, I think they were like, we're not replacing this one for free, you've already had too many freebies.
But from the beginning, you're not.
Yes.
Just I'm curious why we need to change the hotspot. Anything about
That's what I'm saying, that's not, basically, if you vote to leave it as is, it's already right now $3 a day, max is
It'll
$30.
stay 30.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm okay leaving it.
Alright, so are are you making a motion, Doreen, then, to accept everything but leave the hotspots as is?
Yeah, Katie's going yes, no.
Doreen just made a motion to accept all of the changes to the policy update, except leave the hotspot as is, and I second that motion. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Excellent. Thank you for your patience. We figured that out. Is there any unfinished business? I don't think so. Okay.
So we're going back to the 30, I'm just gonna circle back, gotcha. 30.
New business, staff development day, Wednesday, April 3rd.
Yeah, so that's TLA, so I'd like to close the library on that Wednesday and take all of my staff, except for maybe part-time, unless I can afford it. So that's what I would like.
That's our decision.
What day is that?
It's Wednesday, April 3rd.
Huh.
You take all your staff?
I don't know if I can take part-time,
That's right.
but I will probably try to take all full-time.
It's in Middle Tennessee this year, so it's like it's in Franklin.
Right. And it's not always this acceptable, right?
No, most of the
No.
time it's in Memphis or Knoxville, which is why normally
Or
I just
Chattanooga.
go, because you have to pay for a hotel.
Right.
I won't have to pay for a hotel,
Right.
so that hotel money can go to pay for staff to go.
Now, I will say that Elizabeth and I had a discussion about the fact that trustees can attend TLA,
Yes.
but we never did talk about how much it cost. I couldn't find out.
I will look for it for you.
Do you know?
You would do,
How
say
much
that
it
again?
costs?
I can
For
look for
trustees.
you.
Oh, because I looked to possibly
know if they-
register, and I couldn't figure it without actually going through all the process as a non-member of TLA, what the cost is to attend.
You can do a day pass, like a day.
Well, that's what my
Daily.
staff, we
Right.
can only go
You
for
couldn't-
Wednesday.
You couldn't find it on the website?
I couldn't figure out how much it would have cost.
It is normally a 2-day event,
Okay.
but we would just go the one day.
It's kind of set up in a funny way. I think I have it.
Did you ever hear back from anyone about Library Legislative Day?
They, yes, they said they haven't set the date, but they thought it was a great idea to have people at TLA write letters to their legislators at TLA to take on legislative
Did
day.
you see that those bills were put to summer session?
Yes.
In case you guys don't know does anybody know what we're talking about? We're talking about all the legislation that's been going on at the state level regarding obscene materials and changes to the library laws. There's quite a few of them, and some of them seem specific to schools, but there's a couple of them that would affect public libraries as well. Yeah. I wrote a lot of letters.
Katie wanted to know, Jerry, do they need to vote on that, or would you approve that closing date? Okay.
Let's approve, just make sure
Thank
you
you.
put things out, right?
Yes, thank you.
When you close a library like this, do you tell patrons why?
Normally they put staff it on there.
Okay. Great. And then bylaws update.
So, I don't think the bylaws necessarily have to be updated per se, but because we are having so many committee meetings,
Yeah.
I do feel like we need to have a committee chair for all of our meetings. And technically the board chair appoints the committee, so I feel like Katie, within her, jurisdiction to go ahead and appoint a chair of each committee. So on the back side of the bylaws are the committees that we already have. So that way, that committee chair will kind of run the meeting, take the minutes,
Yeah.
get them for me, so that way, I'm not necessarily having to do that, since that's not entirely my role.
It's not your role, so we will definitely do this. Policy committee, does anyone want to volunteer to chair that committee?
I'll do it.
Excellent.
If everybody's okay with that.
Executive
Thank you, Martha.
committee, I'll chair that. Marketing and public relations, Carter, would you chair that?
Yes.
And then budgeting committee, I'm gonna put Sam as chair.
Couldn't do that.
Which one are you with?
Executive.
Oh, of course. That makes sense.
no other new business. Is there a motion to adjourn? 8:26.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.